Hello and welcome back to another episode of Strong Collectors Comics. My name is Jordan, and I'm joined by my plucky co-host, sidekick, as always, Dakota. And today, we've got X-Men on the brain. And not just because X-Men 97 has come out, we've been thinking about that quite a bit. We've had a lot of X-Men figures coming lately, the 50th anniversary of Wolverine, and we figured this would be a great time to rank the X-Men, right? So, we're not going to do every X-Men ever because Dakota would probably be here for 6 hours. However, we narrowed it down. There might be some bias already in the narrowing down, but to a decent pool of X-Men, I would say.
I think we've got 40.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good number. I think we've got kind of the greatest hits of the X-Men. We've got some lesser-known X-Men in there as well. So we're going to be going through ranking these and just kind of putting them in order there. So, without further ado, we can dive right in.
All right. So as I was putting this together, Jordan, I tried to use some of the figures some of the characters that we've seen kind of show up in a lot of X-Men teams. I definitely tried to get characters that we've seen in the animated series. But then, like you said, I wanted to throw in some that were maybe like off the beaten path. But I think for the most part, if you're an X-Men fan, you probably know all of these characters. I know I've got my background behind me as all X-Men. I didn't throw all of them in because like Mr. Sinister to me is not really an X-Men. Maybe in the current stuff, I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm kind of around the like 2018 X-Men right now, so anything post that is a little outside of my wheelhouse. But
so I'm kind of envisioning this a little bit, Dakota. I mean, you can tell me what your thoughts are on the ranking, but like if you had to call on the X-Men, like your top tier would be like your go-tos, and we just kind of go down from there.
Or just like any time that character's in a story, you can kind of bet that they're going to be maybe not like the star of the story, like because I mean Wolverine's going to be the star of any story he's in. Really, just that's the nature of the character. But like I guess I'll start off right off the bat, and like you're probably going to have to bring me down on some of these because the X-Men are some of my favorite characters. So
all right, that's fair.
You may have to bring me back down to earth on some of them, but I'm going to say right off the bat, for me, bring me down if you need to. I say Magic is a GOAT for me.
What is your case for that, Dakota?
So that anytime she's in a story, I think she's just one of those badass female characters that is always doing heavy damage. The team like heavily relies on her. She's teleporting everybody everywhere. She's like the queen of limbo. She's regularly putting Dormammu in his place. I think she's pretty cool. She's got a friggin' lightsaber some of the times, or it's like a giant Soul Calibur sword.
Yeah. I mean, giant swords are often cool, but I know your weakness to giant weapons, so we gotta keep that in consideration. I don't know about a GOAT, dude. Maybe a great.
All right.
But
I think that's I'm pretty biased. She's been in a lot of the stories I've been reading, so there's some recency bias here.
All right.
I'll give you that.
Right, that's fair. Okay.
Is there any GOAT that you're thinking you want to throw up there in the GOATs
right away? I mean,
away?
My personal favorite X-Men has always been Beast. I always rank him high. I'll do again and dare say he's a GOAT, but you can talk me down otherwise. I just think having the X-Man that can add to combat, but he's also very intelligent. You know, I think whenever you got something you got to analyze or break down, you need a Beast there because really he's kind of your tech science component. I don't really know who else fills that role quite as well.
You got Forge down here.
Yeah, but he's not like this. I guess he's more like the machine guy. I don't know. I mean, also being the expert in genetics. But
I think Beast for me ranks closer to doo-doo garbage, honestly.
Oh, whoa. Come on, dude. Are you kidding me?
And maybe there's some recency bias there too, but like in the stories I'm reading right now, he's just kind of that egomaniac that's doing things.
Are you just reading that evil Beast crap?
I haven't gotten to where he's even evil yet. He's just like
non-canon, dude.
I got to where he's like this is kind of like post All New X-Men, where he's like messing with time travel, and even the All New Beast, he's like dabbling in dark magic. I think he's a little too in his own head, and he's trying to be helpful.
Too much of a liability.
He's a huge liability, I think.
Okay. Could I talk you into a great?
I'll settle for a great because I think magic probably doesn't make as much sense as a great, or like as a goat. But I will say
right.
Beast is an OG, so he's got that going for him.
That's true. That's true.
How about, is there
All
anybody that
right.
you think is a doo-doo garbage? See if we can just go to the top and the
Oh,
bottom spectrum here.
I'm trying to think here. I know there have always been a lot of fans, but I've never been too into long shot personally. I know that might be controversial
I'll give
in
you that.
some ways. Um, but I'd put him pretty low on my list of X-Men that I
Yeah.
think are cool and interesting.
I mean, I think in the stories I've read with him, which are a little bit more current, he's not like necessarily part of the team. He's just kind of cameoing, showing up in like a story here or there. He's he's similar to Beast, where I think he's more of like a liability. Like he's helpful, but he's not that helpful. And his power is what? Luck?
Yeah.
Kind of a boring power to me, honestly.
At that point,
It's a
you
cool
just
idea
get
of a character. Like I like the look of the
Domino, can't you? Doesn't she have pretty similar power? And she's got way more weapons and training and stuff, I feel, personally. But I don't know.
Where would you rank Domino?
Then I don't have to look at that mullet the whole time. I would go... I'm between good and backup, but maybe a backup.
I would put backup, yeah. Because, I mean, she's a really cool character, but as a main character, not so often. Not in a ton of teams. She's more of like an X-Force, but I mean, a lot of these are kind of X-Force, X-Factor type of guys. But
that's true. All right.
Anyone else you feel strongly about right off the bat here?
I mean, ever since I was a kid, I have also always loved Cable. Cable is always one of my favorites. I mean, I think there's also the fact that he's got a metal arm, which just made me think he was cool. However, I mean, I guess sometimes it can depend maybe on who's writing him, his level of like telepathic psionic power, right? Because sometimes it's like he seems a little weaker. Sometimes it seems like he can do a little more.
I really do like the concept of him being like a super powerful mutant with like the telepathy, but he's always kind of hindered because of the technovirus that he has to be focusing that energy on keeping that from consuming him. And there's there's a short story before Avengers versus X-Men where he's trying like to prevent something from happening. I can't remember exactly what his goal is, but it's like he needs to use more of his telepathy to follow through with his mission type of thing. So like as the story progresses, he just gets more and more overtaken, and by the end of it, I don't know if he dies or whatever because he's back not too long after, but I thought that was cool. So where do you want him at?
I think he's I don't know if I'd go GOAT status.
He's a great?
I think we can stick with that. I'm between great and good. What do you feel?
I haven't really read enough with him. He kind of seems to me kind of like Nick Fury Punisher type of like he's going to like do whatever it takes to get the job done. So that doesn't seem super heroic to me.
Okay.
But he's kind of like,
we could have a hot take and put him in a good. I feel like people might not.
We can always adjust later. We can adjust later.
We can adjust. And then the two that, I mean, of course you got to consider, I'm pretty sure in canon, Iceman and Storm are both considered the Omega level mutants of like top tier with their powers.
Yeah.
And again, I think when they're not super powerful, it's usually based on like the writing, like not, like really if you think about it, Iceman being able to, manipulate water and like moisture, I mean, that's pretty top tier. And he got the original X-Men status for Iceman. And I think he's always had a cool personality, cool look.
You giving him a go?
I definitely get him in the great. Do you want to go GOAT on that? I
think he could be a GOAT.
All right, I'll agree with that.
Okay. How about Storm? You're saying another Omega level mutant?
I really like. I mean, I loved even in like the Days of Future Past era when she kind of ousts Cyclops as the leader. I thought actually even made sense, and I think I'm still waiting for Storm to be done justice in the cinematic movies. But I think if they do it right, they can make her really cool.
Yeah.
So I'd also go with GOAT status on that personally.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that.
All right.
All right. So another one, Wolverine. It seems like he would be in the GOAT status. Am I wrong? He's like in every book ever.
Right.
But then at the same time, do I feel so mainstream if I put him as a GOAT? Do I want to be hipster and put him lower? It just kind of seems like he's like, I don't know. Can we argue that he's a GOAT?
I mean, to me that's kind of the obvious choice. I mean, you got the fact that they fight Magneto, who can control metal all the time, but you know,
Right.
that doesn't really seem to come up a lot.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, Wolverine, can you stay home on this one? Fighting Magneto again. I think that's fair. I mean, I think
yeah.
there's a reason he's the most popular. I think he's very interesting, complex character. Always adds a cool dynamic when he's written well to the team overall. So I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's accurate.
How about Cyclops? That's another one that seems like it should be a GOAT, but also he killed Professor X, so kind of a not so
also not great
heroic move there.
And you know how much I hate this Cyclops as a villain stuff, or as you would say,
and I love it.
That's when he's at his best.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I would get what you're saying, and I think a lot of the time with Cyclops, he was kind of written as sort of like the one-dimensional, you know, goody two-shoes, perfect leader boy to like contrast with the like rebels of the rest of the team, which I do agree is not incredibly interesting. But I think again, if done well, Cyclops can be a really cool character. Yeah. I'll go with great on that. Actually,
great. Okay,
but
I think I definitely like more of his. I mean, it's not like I read a ton of old comics, but in the stuff I'm reading now, where it's kind of that all new X-Men era, where younger Cyclops is kind of grappling with the older Cyclops being the villain. The older Cyclops is dead at the time. I think that's a much cooler. Like you said, it just gives more to the character versus just I'm just the Boy Scout at the end.
Yeah, I guess for me, part of the GOAT status I think of is like, if I had to, would I read a solo book on this character?
Okay.
You'd have to really sell me on a Cyclops solo book. But I think so far, our GOATs, I would read solo stories about.
Okay.
I'd also read a solo story about Beast, but, you know, I guess he's great, so.
All right, how about Cyclops' first lady lover friend, Jean Grey?
Jean Grey, yeah. I mean, I think as a kid, it kind of blew my mind when I found out there was a difference between being telepathic and telekinetic. Because I always assumed that she and Professor X did the same thing. However, she's basically like Professor X, but can also manipulate objects as well as people. So I'm going to go GOAT on that one, personally, but you can talk me down if you need to.
I just don't like her that much. Like, she's definitely got the power, but like...
Okay.
We'll leave it for now. Maybe I'll argue with you harder later.
All right. We'll go through. We might have some other... I guess we'll have the old Jean Grey, Emma Frost debate.
I was going to say, let's talk Emma Frost
We'll get into that
next.
right now. Because technically, she's on that level. I mean, she also has the diamond form, right? And then she's got the interesting backstory of having been a villain and then turning to be a hero, which that's always kind of a fun dynamic, I think, to have. So then, are you going to say, where would you put Emma Frost?
I don't know. I would think I would put her...
I never really cared for her, though, for some reason. Maybe it's just because I felt like she was messing up my perfect Cyclops, Grey, happy family. But
I do think it's a lot more interesting having...
I thought it was.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more interesting having her and Cyclops together. But it's also I also lean more towards the villain Cyclops. Emma Frost is kind of that like X-Men she leans a little bit more Magneto, where she's going to do whatever it takes to help mutants, not necessarily the world itself.
Right.
She's a cool character though. Like I've read solo stories with her, and like the old one was kind of, I don't know, it seemed a little bit like CW style teenage comic, but it was still good. I would say great, probably.
Okay.
unless you
All
think
right.
lower.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
I can get behind that. I think she's pretty, since she's been introduced, has kind of sustained her
Mm-hmm.
her involvement. And she didn't like fade away into the background. I think
Yeah.
so. I think there's also something to that in the fact of the stories you can tell.
So let's stick with these mind powers and say Professor X. I'm going to say hot take, doo-doo garbage. I've never found him interesting a single time ever.
Yeah. I think like what is interesting is when people have moved away from the portrayal of Professor X as this almost like Dumbledore-like figure, where he kind of always does the right thing and everyone can consult him, and he's kind of this benevolent headmaster, is always kind of the conception I had of Professor X growing up. Probably partially influenced by the X-Men movies, where he was kind of more of that role.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about like the Astonishing X-Men, where you kind of see it's like, oh, he's kind of done some shady stuff, which makes sense if you're recruiting teenagers to train for combat. I don't know if that would mean I would not consider him a good character, though. I definitely won't go doo-doo garbage, dude. I at least have to talk you up to a good, I think.
Good?
Yeah.
No, that's being generous in my eyes.
Okay.
But it seems like it makes sense, I guess, but it's just...
One of the most powerful telepaths in the world, dude.
Name one time Professor X was cool ever.
When he fought the Shadow King in Egypt.
No.
A
bunch of mind ghosts fighting? No, that's not cool. Pass.
All right. I'm not going to let you take him below a good, dude, just for the sake of
that's understandable.
us not having to cancel this podcast. Okay.
You really wanted Darwin on this list. Tell me about Darwin.
Again, it's another character. I think my first exposure to him was in the World War Hulk series, where, do you remember that, where Hulk comes and he's just decimating the X-Men? And like Darwin, his power is he adapts to survive in any situation, which I remember, like, he adapts and it portals him to like 3 states away because he's like, this is the only way I could survive the Hulk. That was funny. But I think like if you wrote him well, you could have that be very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a way to kind of give you the like gadget for every situation without being like, this guy literally has gadgets. It's like part of his power. Right. So I think there are still a lot of cool things that you can do with that character. I haven't necessarily read a lot of stories, but I think he has a lot of potential. So, I feel weird putting him in the same category as Cable and Professor X. Maybe a backup.
All right. I think that's fair. Now, we'll go with 3 of... maybe even 4 of my favorites. Nightcrawler, Gambit, Angel, Colossus.
I'm going to go Nightcrawler, Colossus as goats right off the bat for me, but...
I'm not going to fight you there. I'll take it.
I mean, Nightcrawlers, they're both just so cool. I mean, come on.
I don't know how you don't love both of those characters.
I mean, especially if Nightcrawler's got his swords. I mean, that's just game over. But yeah, both of those... I realize our goats are kind of all the like... Well, no, they're not all. But several of them in the like Chris Claremont era. But those are probably the best X-Men books. So, okay. What about, you had Gambit lined up there?
Gambit, yeah. He's another, like, I mean, at least from the cartoon, he was my favorite in the cartoon. A Gambit in... I mean, he's kind of one of those X-Men that's like... He's a little less serious, so he's usually causing a problem that then the X-Men have to fix. So, maybe he loses his goat status for that. But I love Gambit. I think
he's very interesting. Again, another one that kind of has that complicated backstory, right? Because wasn't he initially...
Yeah, he was like a thief.
Working with Mr. Sinister, and then like has to reveal to the team who he was, and again, I think his power is pretty creative. That's another way that I kind of rank X-Men, is the creativity of the power, because I think that's a really cool way you can just think of any power you want. And I think his power wouldn't be a traditional one you'd think of. So I'd go with great. I'll give him that. with you.
And then Angel, the last OG we have here.
Mm-hmm. You talking regular Angel or Apocalypse Horseman Angel?
I mean, we can go Angel from like he's got feather wings to metal wings.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, metal wings are way cooler because I kind
agree.
of think like you're just a dude flying around with wings that you're going to try to be as helpful as like Cyclops and Storm, and I don't see
you
that
got
as much.
Several of our other goats can essentially fly and do other stuff.
Right. So, I mean, I think it was a cool idea with like all new X-Men. They like Angel takes the black vortex and he's got these like flaming cosmic wings. It's like, okay, now he's actually got powers to be useful.
Right.
Where before you just, what are these feathers going to really do me for? But I still like the character. He's one of my like personal favorites. I think he's always just looked cool. Maybe that's just because I've always wanted wings, but.
So you going, what is that for you? Is that a great?
I could see great. You could talk me down to a good.
I'm probably going to make you put him in a good despite how cool he looks.
All right. I'll accept it.
All right.
Jubilee.
I mean, even in the animated show, I never loved Jubilee myself. Always thought Storm and Jean Grey were way cooler. But I guess she's got they kind of rolled the Kitty Pryde young.
Yeah. I mean, she's a vampire now, isn't she, too?
Member of the team. That might be... I may have missed that, but that sounds about right.
I thought that was like sometime in like pre-Astonishing X-Men, and then she like stays a vampire. It's just like the new canon.
Maybe. What would you give Jubilee?
Doo-doo garbage.
Okay, that's fair.
Not my favorite.
I thought at least backup, but doo-doo garbage.
No.
We got to have some in there, so.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably some cool stories with her, but nah. How about Rogue? Right. It's from Rogue. The animated show.
Yeah.
And are we saying Rogue that has like super strength, flight type of Rogue, or is this the Rogue that just touches you?
I think for the most part, you got the super strength.
I think so too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd put Rogue as I think pretty high. I was gonna say great.
Really?
But would you say backup or good? Or don't tell me you'd say doo-doo garbage.
I don't think I would say if it was just the touch power, then doo-doo garbage.
Okay.
But if you're including like strength and flight, I would be more in the good backup categories.
All right. Let's go with good.
Okay. I think she does have like interesting stories. It's just I think the stories that I've read are very repetitive of like, oh, I can't touch anybody. Right. Wine. It's like, okay, what else? So.
All right.
And she's with Gambit. Gambit's favorite. So.
Okay.
Who do you want to go to next?
Let's just go right there with Bishop.
I've always loved Bishop.
I also love Bishop. Is he a great or is he a goat?
I don't think he's a goat. Because isn't he kind of like... He's like a mutant hunter, isn't he?
I'm pretty sure in the future there's something like that. Yeah. I mean, I would be between great or good. I don't think I go goat, but
let's give him
cool.
He is super cool. I'd say let's give him a good for now, and maybe we move him up later.
All right.
Kitty Pryde.
I always like Kitty.
I've always thought she was dumb until recently, and she's kind of like in the roles of like leading the X-Men. I think she's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And she's like a ninja.
Right. Yeah, she got some training and
she's got some layers,
skills,
like an onion.
And she's got a long history with the team, and she's started when she was young, and she knows the ins and outs.
Right.
I'm tempted to go goat, but you might want to go great.
I could see goat, honestly.
All right, I'll do a goat for Kitty Pryde.
Nice.
Shadowcat.
Morph.
I mean, I'm waiting still on the X-Men 97 show of this new one to kind of sell me on Morph's usefulness. Personally,
I
don't
think
know though.
kind of like we had talked about,
feelings.
he's got the potential to be way too OP if he can just like shapeshift into another character. Like if he can shapeshift into Apocalypse and he has all of Apocalypse's powers.
Right.
It's kind of like, okay, well, that is a little much for me to consider you like a cool character.
My understanding was usually traditionally that Morph would just kind of Mystique-ish, like just be impersonating other people.
Yeah.
Which he didn't really have like the combat training of Mystique, which I think made him a little less useful than a Mystique.
To me, I would put him like backup.
Yeah, I'd probably go with that too.
Because I don't think he's quite doo-doo garbage level.
If you got like a specialty mission and you gotta go infiltrate or something, it'd be good to have a Morph, but probably not going to be like, hey, we're going to go fight Sentinels. Help us out.
Exactly.
Unless he's got the power from the new show. So, all right. What is that next one? Armor?
Armor. Yep.
Okay. Wasn't she introduced in the Astonishing X-Men?
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was a cool addition.
Yeah, I agree.
To the comics. For me, she was usually those like student X-Men that are just kind of showing up, don't usually stand out, but I felt like she was a cool add-on. So,
I mean, I don't think she can be on the same level as like Cyclops, Gambit, Emma Frost to me.
No.
I mean, me personally, she's way cooler than Professor X, but
I would say I'm uncomfortable with her being in the same category as Professor X, but I would think she's a good, and Professor X should be higher. But
so we'll put her in the good category.
Yeah, for now.
Because I mean, I think it's not even like her power set; it's the fact that she's like a side character that can stand out so well, kind of like you said. Where like Professor X is supposed to be the star of the show, and to me, I don't care a single time, but maybe you do. So that's where I think they can be on the same level.
All right, that's fair.
Now the stories I'm reading right now in 2018, Havoc is like a total jerk, major bad guy. Like,
is that okay? I remembered reading he registered for me as being cool when he was, what was it, the Uncanny Avengers? Is that after that you're talking about?
It was like kind of like during that time he gets like half his face melted off, and then now he's trying to like blow up the world, turn it into all mutants type of thing. But like even the mutants are like unstable, like dying. So he's like working with Miss Sinister and kind of a jerk. But I think he's always been a cool character, like especially the 90s. Like I liked that, like kind of the original look for him, or like what I imagine is the original look, the Jim Lee version.
Yeah. So where does that lead you then?
I think my recency bias makes me drop him down the list.
Doo-doo or backup?
I don't know. I mean, like maybe backup, but he's cool. Like he's got good powers. I don't know. I think
I don't think I can let you put him in doo-doo garbage. Personally.
I mean, no, I think that's fair. I don't think he should be.
Oh, all right.
Like he's not like a Jubilee long shot level.
I'd put him in a backup for me.
Backup? Would you put Polaris next to him?
I don't know, I would
say she's way more powerful.
I gotta have to bump up Polaris. I think.
Okay, interesting.
It's basically, you got your own Magneto, but he's good. Yeah. Well, not as powerful as Magneto, I don't think, unless I think mistaken in my power levels. But
she's not far off. I mean, I would assume Magneto is going to be more powerful. Just the character, nobody's gonna be above him in like magnetism, but I think she's pretty. I think
that's cool having a heroic, or well, I guess she's kind of dabbled in some different areas, hasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I think she was like possessed by, I can't remember what the name of the character was, but like,
of course,
yeah.
I think half of these characters have been possessed by evil entities
at
least a couple times.
Do you think she's a good? Great?
I think could be a great, because I think like Magneto is always cool, but then of course it's like he's usually got to be a villain. But I think if you had a heroic Magneto, that would add a lot. But I've never really read a story with Polaris that I was like, this is as cool as Magneto. Yeah. So I would go in that good level, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the stuff I'm reading right now, she's kind of the leader of the X-Men, with Magneto kind of being the Professor X of the X-Men, where he's like leading it, but kind of like not with the team.
Right.
So she's pretty cool in that. I like her.
Well, that's fair.
You want to go X-23 next?
Ooh, X-23. Yeah. I would say, again, I don't think I can go great.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, I think she would definitely be an asset to the team when you can't get Wolverine there.
Right.
Does that leave you in a good or a backup? Probably a good. I think she's better than our backups there.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
We can shuffle as we get
and she's
closer.
been in cool stories, so
yeah. I even liked the run where she was. I think when Wolverine died, she became Wolverine for a bit, which I actually liked those. I remember reading those as they came out. I thought they were pretty cool because they kind of did the whole like she's a clone, and then there's other clones that she has to save and kind of deal with all that. So I like that.
Sunspot.
I've never had much of an attachment to Sunspot, but I know he has his fans.
Yeah. To me, at best, he's backup. At best, he's backup.
We're going to have a couple more doo-doo garbages, I think, so we're going to have to start making some hard choices.
I mean, to me, I never really have read much with him, so it's kind of like I don't know if it's fair to put him in doo-doo garbage.
All right.
But also, like, if I haven't read anything with him in it, then how good is he? So.
Ooh, that's true. maybe back up for now.
All right, back up for now. Cannonball.
I
don't know. Flies around while he's flying. He's invincible. I don't know. I've never loved the character.
I'm gonna give him a doo-doo.
I agree with that.
Now I just want to see a team of like all our doo-doo garbage characters going on.
Longshot, Jubilee, and Cannonball. Warpath.
But again, I think it speaks to the coolness of the X-Men characters, where even the doo-doo characters, and like you could do interesting things with them. We just have to, categorize them somehow. So
right, and like
Warpath,
Well, I was gonna say too. On top of that, like if you just had the goats as a team, like it could work, but like. I think it makes more sense when you have a more rounded team of like super awesome characters, and then you kind of work in some of those other characters. Like if Cannonball was ever on a team with Nightcrawler, Colossus, and Kitty Pryde, I would probably read that, and it would probably make me like those other characters more. So, Warpath.
Well said. I've always thought Warpath was cool.
Yeah, but like how cool? Like. He's definitely no goat. And
I don't know if he's a goat or a great.
Okay.
Didn't he like die pretty early on and then he came back?
I think that was his brother, Thunderbird. That's why I left him off the list.
Kind of like, okay. They didn't really give him very distinct costumes, the two of them.
No, they're like the exact same.
Could have had a little more ingenuity.
I mean, I don't know the characters super well, but I imagine it's probably like, oh, Thunderbird died, Warpath like takes his place. He's like, I'm gonna like honor my brother in this like same costume type of thing. I assume.
Right. Something like that. Sounds right. What would you say? Would you give him a backup or would you give him a doo-doo?
I mean, I would say backup or good. So maybe we go backup then.
All right. We'll do backup.
Because I definitely don't think he's doo-doo.
Right.
Gold balls?
Who?
Gold balls?
You're going to have to refresh me on gold balls.
So this is when Cyclops is a villain. He's putting together his like school, and gold balls, his power is he makes gold balls. Like he just like points out gold balls out of his body. And they're just kind of like, you could use them. He could throw them. He can.
Can he sell them?
They kind of like disappear after a while. Because that's what some of the X-Men were saying. Like, oh, can we sell these? And then they like disappear.
No.
But I think
he sounds like terrible.
He like I think helps. It's like him and a few others team up and they like kind of help repopulate mutants. Of like he makes eggs or something, and then somebody else like time bubbles them and makes them grow. I don't really remember how that worked, but a little convoluted. super goofy character, but like the character itself was like he was a fun character to read in the stories. But I think power set wise, probably doo-doo garbage.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You should read those books though, Jordan. They're pretty good.
All right.
Psylocke.
Ooh.
A lot of people like Psylocke.
That's true.
Might be a lot of nerds that need a girlfriend,
ninja abilities. That's true. She's got the psionic blades and some limited telepathy, so that's kind of a fun mix, I think. I think a good, personally, but you think she should be lower? I wouldn't say a great for me.
Okay, I would say good is fair.
Good is good.
Good is good.
I know you like Forge, don't you?
Yeah, I like the idea of Forge. I've never really read a ton with him, but he's got a robotic leg. Usually he's got some blasters.
Right.
Native American. I think it's all cool mix, but what's his power? He's just really good with machines, right?
Yeah, can he interface with almost any kind of technology and
I'd probably put him at backup. I don't know if he's due to garbage, but
I'll give you that backup.
Okay. Banshee. A lot of people like Banshee.
That's true.
I think his costume is super fun.
Cool costume. Definitely. Is backup too harsh, or do you think he?
No, I think backup is fair. I think doo-doo garbage would be way too harsh.
All right, I'm doing that.
Rachel.
Ooh,
she's pretty powerful. I mean,
very powerful.
It's just, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. We've got Jean Grey up there. We got Emma Frost up there. Professor X is in the good category.
Right.
Is she super necessary? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Again, another character. I mean, I know a lot of people would have liked her from the Excalibur days, right, where they kind of had that team, and she was that sort of a telepath on their team. Yeah, it'd be hard for me to put that one as a good.
I was thinking backup. I mean, because I don't think she's due to garbage, but it's just kind of like we've got other characters that do your job.
Right. And we like them more.
If they're busy, then you can come.
Right.
Come
There's no risk of them getting possessed by the Phoenix Force. Well, unless you got Jean Grey, but
yeah,
we got a couple other telepaths that are okay. Yeah. All right, Deadpool.
I mean, as far as overall characters in the Marvel Universe, I would say he's great. We're talking strictly X-Men style here. I don't know.
I think we should give him. I'm gonna give him a great.
A great. Okay.
I think sometimes can definitely be overused and not used well, but I think he's got enough.
It's a fun character.
Right. Yes, I would agree. I'll give him that.
Wolfsbane.
Ooh, Wolfsbane. I don't know. Is it a good or a backup?
I would say backup at best. I would have put her in the doo-doo garbage because
oh wow, really?
What do I care? I don't know. I've never cared.
All right, we do.
But maybe I haven't read enough
one
with
more
her.
Doo-doo garbage. I'll give you that.
All right.
Hot take.
I mean, if you're wanting to put some more in the doo-doo garbage area, this knockoff Flash to me.
I mean,
I don't care about him.
He's got super speed though, dude.
Yeah, but I've just never really thought super speed was that cool.
Mortal enemy.
Yeah, all right, that's kind of cool. I think I like him more as an Avenger though than an X-Men character. So maybe that's why I would put him in the lower rankings for this.
Would your lower ranking be as low as a backup?
Yeah, for sure.
I just think it's pretty valuable. I mean, I guess he's got, if we're saying personality-wise, he can be, kind of a jerk. So you got to think about that. Might piss off some of our goats and greats when he's on a team with them and add some dysfunction.
So you're saying you want to give him a good?
Well, hold on. Let's pause on that. How are you going to rank strong guy? in
I mean, you know,
multiple
I
man.
love strong guy, but
I know
it's
you
probably
do.
like Magic where you have to talk me out.
Well,
Because
where would you
honestly,
put strong guy?
I don't know if
Don't
I've ever
tell me
read
he's a goat,
I
dude.
don't know if I've ever read a single story with strong guy in it, but I love him.
All right.
So
Well,
that's where
doesn't
I'll
he can get powerful, but he has like a heart condition, right? If he gets too strong, his heart like seizes up.
see this. I'll default to you for this one because I'm just gonna base it off of like my own personal
I
love of
usually
him
would
for
give.
no reason.
I'd probably give him like a backup, but if you want to give him a good, you can
That's
do
fair.
that.
Backup is fine.
All right. What about multiple man?
Multiple man for me would probably also be backup. It's a cool idea, and I think there's some cool stories with him.
All right.
But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's fair.
I mean, I think that the Invincible world uses multiple
The
man
concept
powers,
of.
where it's like the
Mm-hmm.
duplicates just getting mowed down, but like just constantly duplicating and
Right.
taking it.
Okay. All right. What
All
about
right, so
Dazzler?
now Dazzler.
I've never really understood Dazzler, dude, personally, but
I mean, she was in something. What was it? It was kind of. I think it was post X-Men versus Inhumans, or maybe right before that time, and like Mystique like kidnaps her and like drugs her and like takes over as Dazzler because Dazzler's running like the mutant division of Shield, and then
okay.
like Dazzler gets out and she's like just kind of
That's
goes a little
not
bit crazy
me.
on Mystique and
Right.
like turns all goth. I think that was kind of cool. But other than that, I mean, if Taylor Swift becomes Dazzler, I think we're going to see a lot more cool stories with Dazzler in it. So I think maybe she'll grow the rankings after that. But right now, probably go back up, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say doo doo, but you can go back up if you want.
I mean, we got space in the doo-doo category. It's fine. I'll give it to you.
All right. So Quicksilver, you said backup. He's got
Yeah.
super speed, dude. I mean, come on.
I mean, we can say good if you have to say good, but he can't be higher than good. Because you think he's on the same level as like Cyclops, and you think he's better than Bishop?
I mean, if I had to pick, who do I want on my squad, Bishop or Quicksilver? I feel like Quicksilver might be a little more useful for me.
Yeah, I suppose. So you're gonna put him in the great?
No, I was saying I said
okay.
backup or good.
Oh, okay. We can go good then. That's fine.
And then Professor X has got to come up.
You're
No, I'll give it to you. I think he has a sorted enough past that he probably deserves in the good.
okay.
Maybe that's, in some ways could be generous. But he's the reason all these guys are here. Anyways,
Yeah, that's a good
Dakota,
point.
So
That's a good point. I'll give you that. That can make him solidly in the good category for me instead of me trying to argue him into the backup or doo-doo
right.
garbage. I'm not disappointed when Cyclops killed him. I'll say that.
All right, that's fair. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think our goats is definitely not controversial. I think a lot of people would agree those are the goats. I could see people thinking Magic might be a reach for great, but I mean,
I think
Deadpool
could also be a reach.
Yeah.
I do agree. I think people are going to, I mean, but hey, we got to have some controversy in here. Get the people talking by putting Professor X as a good.
I'm curious because I feel like there are a lot of fan favorites in our backup and doo-doo garbage.
Yeah. I mean, but like Havoc and Domino, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Banshee.
There's probably a contingent of people that'd be like, how dare you do that to Forge and Banshee? But,
yeah.
I
Probably the
mean,
same with
a reason why
Longshot and Wolfsbane.
Yeah. I think a good category, it's like, yeah, which of these ones have people deemed workable enough to put into a movie and make interesting?
Yeah.
But there's some in the upper category that haven't really been pulled off, so
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I think it's pretty solid. So that is what we have for our X-Men rankings. Of course, as always, comment, let us know if we rank them correctly, if Dakota's nuts for putting Magic up there that high, if Professor X deserves to be higher. I think he does, but that's okay. We'll also have a link for this tier maker so that you yourselves can make these. Feel free to comment, share them. and you can use this kind of for whatever other rankings you might want to do. As always, be sharing, subscribing, and until next time, stay strong.
I feel like this is kind of like setting us up for people to be like, oh, Richter's right there behind you. You didn't put Richter in the thing.
Right.
Yeah.